is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Harry Potter, the Rereading, Prisoner of Azkaban, chapters 16 and 17, Professor Trelawney's Prediction, and Cat, Rat, and Dog. In these chapters, Trelawney predicts the return of Voldemort's servant, and Lupin outs himself, well, gets outed by Hermione, rude, as a werewolf. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Natasha.
And I'm RoShawn.
And I am so excited because we're going on our trip next week and I'm gonna die. Guys, I'm gonna pee my pants. Every time I get sad, I just remember, but soon I'm gonna be in Florida. So, first off, I want to say thank you to the people who donated and got us over the top of our, what do you call it? Goal. Yeah, that's the simple one syllable word that I could not remember. So, to all of you, Jill Goth, Jara Garwood, my bad, Heather Ortega, we had a bunch of people donate recently, Kelly Wright, Brian R., Zabina Jostrom, Nate Swanson, who purposely donated enough to get us to goal like a maniac. He got us exactly $1 over and left a comment that just said, "Over the top." Bad movie. Great sentiment.
That's a great movie. How dare you?
It is I made Owen watch that last year. I'm not going to lie. Gabby Mattis, Elizabeth Bergskow, who Elizabeth is going on the trip. And she still donated it to us. So Elizabeth, you're a maniac. Laura Van Gunes, Katie Hanna, Ashley Peterson, and Sarugani. Ooh, I don't know, but I'm going to say Sarugani B. All donated over this past week, and y'all got us to goal, and then past goal, and thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you so much. I have said this already, but we had expected to be able to save more money on our own than we were actually able to. We both hit some problems, and, as is wont to happen. And what we get from the GoFundMe is all the money that we're going to have, pretty much. So, we were thinking that, if we reach this goal, RoShawn will be able to get her own hotel room for a couple nights.
It seems like a good plan.
That is not actually possible now. And, that's okay. It's still going to be fucking amazing. But I'm really glad that I raised the goal because we would be in trouble otherwise. So we'd be able to go to Florida and we would starve to death in Florida and then we would never come home again. Thank you all so much for that. I can't, you guys are too good to us.
Yeah. It's, I had my doubts about whether this was actually going to happen or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I was truly, blown away by people's response and willingness to chip in and make this happen for us. And, my faith in humanity has been, restored a little bit.
Aww.
I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I'm looking at people differently. I'm like, maybe you're not terrible person. I don't know.
Right? And maybe good things can happen sometimes.
Maybe.
Because this is the kind of thing where it's just like, and I'm going to say this and hope that a hurricane doesn't just show up and
don't
prove me wrong.
This. Maybe you should just stop ahead.
But, I know that,
say it anyway.
I was going to say that I know RoShawn didn't want to, get excited about this until it became quite clear that this was happening. Because she was sure it wasn't. And we've only just let ourselves get really excited over the past week and a half. Because we're, we're getting outfits and figuring out what we're going to do, and I made a big schedule. And if you are somebody who lives in the Florida area or is going to be around there and wants to meet up with the group at some point, I posted on the Facebook page for the podcast a schedule of generally where we're all going to be. I updated it recently, but if you are interested, you can also join the group on Facebook that's for the trip, just to like keep an eye on, because I'll be posting in there pretty frequently right up until we're on the trip. And that is facebook.com/groups/unspoiledhpworld. And that's where you can go and, see exactly what we're planning for the day. If we have to play it by ear and, if there's a weather change or it turns out we're all fucking exhausted and don't want to do the thing we said we were going to do. That is the place where minute by minute you will know where we are. And you can come and join us, because I know there's a couple people who live in the area who just want to come down for like an evening. Or somebody who's just going to come to one day at Universal, but not the rest, things like that. So, and we're going to be going to Medieval Times one day, which is only like 20 minutes from our hotel, which is pretty great. And there's just all kinds of fun stuff. And the first night that we're there, we're going to watch Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone while playing the commentary from Wizard People, dear readers, which will be really, really fun. It had been what we were going to do our live show on. But with everything scheduled now, I'm actually kind of relieved that the live show isn't happening.
Yeah, I'm wondering how we would have even managed that at this point.
It would have been tight.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be really great. And I am going to post so many pictures. You guys are going to be so sick of me.
Yeah. I'm going to have all my skills up so I can not be in all those pictures. It's going to take everything that I've learned these many years.
You all heard it here first, folks. We are now going to be playing a game called Natasha Tries to Take Pictures of RoShawn. Stay tuned. Let's see how that goes.
I recently realized that in order to get a good picture of me, the photographer has to sort of be a ninja. I can't know that he's around. I can't know that there's a camera in play. And then I'll get a good picture. But if I know someone's taking it, it's terrible. So, really get your ninja skills up, lady.
There are people, like, when I went to the Arboretum with Owen, we were taking a selfie. And, you hold your phone up and at this angle that's way more flattering. And this woman was like, oh, I can take that for you. And I was like, no.
No, you can't.
No, I don't think so. And I saw a meme somewhere, which was like, true friends do this for each other. And it was a girl taking a picture of a couple, and she was sitting on the shoulders of her own boyfriend so that she was taking the photo from up above. And I was like, true facts. That is the only way. So yeah, I'm also not super looking forward to photos of myself, candid photos, because I put weight on and I'm not thrilled about it. But I'm going to try my best to make them only either photos of the beautiful places that we are without us in them, or photos that I take as a selfie so that I can make myself look as great as possible. And video. I'll definitely be doing some video. Especially once we get to Wizarding World, there's going to be this light show at Hogwarts for Christmas. And I really want to take a video of that. So, and there's going to be a Christmas parade the next day. Guys, I'm so excited. And I'm going to get to make RoShawn watch Home Alone. Those of you...
Yeah, this I'm not super excited about.
Those of you who've listened to the show for some time may remember how I tried to get RoShawn to agree to do a patrons-only thing where we watched Home Alone, and she flatly refused.
Yeah, a woman's got to have her line. I drew a line in the sand, guys. I did.
But then, I think I guilted her by taking her on an extravagant vacation into telling her that, well, you really kind of owe me, probably, so,
Yeah, you couched it in, oh, this will be a fun drinking game.
I mean, it will be.
And I was like, what? Drinking game?
It will be. Guys, if you like Home Alone like I do, there apparently have
nobody likes it like you do.
That's true. But there are a bunch of drinking games that have come to my attention that are specifically designed for like Christmas movies. And Home Alone, take one shot when Little Nero's pizza guy knocks over the statue, or Buzz's tarantula makes an appearance. Take one drink, sip, when any character either insults or threatens Kevin, or speaks or attempts to speak French. Take one drink when Kevin screams or yells, talks to himself, or insults someone. And then
We're all gonna die.
take one drink when someone says pizza, Paris, polka. Take one drink when Harry or Marv get hurt. And if both get hurt, drink twice.
Ugh.
So that's going to be what we do the second night of the trip in our pajamas while we eat pizza in our hotel room with everyone.
Well, at least I won't remember having seen this movie. So, there's that.
You will. I need to find my Merry Christmas, You Filthy Animal sweater and bring it with me. Anyway, so guys, I'm just gushing now because I'm just so thrilled. Thank you all so much. And it's like, it sounds so trite to say it because you hear people say it wouldn't be possible without you, but like there is no fucking way this would be happening.
Oh God, no.
No way.
It would never happen.
There's no we have $0 to put toward this, basically. So this is entirely on you all. And special thanks to Nikki Caro, who got us the plane tickets, so that we don't have to drive 20-something hours like a couple of peasants, which I'm really excited about because I haven't, like, it just feels like so much more of a, like, real vacation if we do that.
And some of us don't drive.
And some of us don't drive, I guess. True. And also thank you to Chrissy Regal, I think it's Regal, who let me get a massive discount on park tickets. She had an in on that. And of course to Nate Swanson, who made the huge donation in the exact amount needed to get us over goal by exactly $1. You guys, just seriously, y'all made this, you all made it happen and made it so that it would be less stressful and better. Yep. And it's just...
And made us want to do this.
Yes.
Because if we didn't have such a great community of listeners, we wouldn't want to go hang out with them.
That's true. So thank you to the people who are actually going to be coming. And I hope that y'all are not awful. And that we like
How
you.
could they be awful?
And
they're listeners.
That this is not the biggest mistake RoShawn and I have ever made in our lives.
I feel like if there are listeners, they're going to be awesome.
Yeah, I think that I would be like more prone to have a questionable crowd if this whole like trip were based around like the Song of Ice and Fire fandom or something like that.
Good Lord.
Forget it.
Good Lord. It would be a whole week of just arguing.
Right? Oh my God. Actually, that sounds kind of great. But yeah, I think this is like the ideal group. So anyway, all right, enough of that. Let's talk about the chapter. Chapter 16, Professor Trelawney's Prediction, which in this illustrated version, there is a teapot tortoise.
Oh, it's great.
It's pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
He's half
I love
half
the tail.
Yes, the tail curves up and then back around to be a teapot handle. Mm-hmm. So this chapter picks up right after the Harry wins the
Quidditch Cup final.
Exactly.
So he is floating on cloud 9. Mm-hmm. Everything is great, except it's not, because there are also exams.
Yeah, everybody is just like, it smells good outside, the wind, the breeze, right. But I can't.
Yeah, I love that detail, too, of when you hit that part of the year when it smells like summer, but you're still in class.
Yep.
Yeah. Which kind of still happens even when you're an adult and you have to work, and summer isn't a thing for you anymore, but your body remembers, like your muscle memory remembers a time in your life when it meant something. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, your body's like, but it's nice out. And I don't want to go to work.
The way you phrased that, when it meant something, just so bitter. But I agree. But, yeah, this is like, something that I was listening to another podcast the other day, and somebody on there was talking about how we teach kids that summer is great, only to just rip that away from them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once we just like...
Yep, that's exactly what we did. We give you 18 years of summer is the best time in your life. And then all of a sudden we're like, yeah, it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah. So everybody is really uptight because of all of the studying they have to do. And Hermione is worst of all. And we get to see her schedule: 9 o'clock arithmancy, 9 o'clock transfiguration, 1 o'clock charms, 1 o'clock ancient runes.
I love how shook the boys are.
Yeah.
Like they want to say something, and Ron is like, maybe. Are you sure? Do you want to check that? It'd be like there's like shell shock because she's gonna flip out on them.
Yep, that's fair. Owen gets like that when I'm like really in the zone with cooking. And he comes in the kitchen because he starts to feel guilty, I think, when he's sitting in the living room, like watching TV or something, and I'm cooking. And he comes in and he's like, can I do anything? Can I help? No. Go sit down. Like, you're just going to hold me back. That's how I am. But, you know, I appreciate the offer, sweetie. Good. Pat yourself on the back for being a good boy and go sit back down. I don't need you. Get out. So they get notice that they're coming for the appeal with an executioner in tow.
Yeah, and the jig is up.
Yep.
Like once they find that out, everyone is reacting like, well, they've made up their mind. And Hermione tries to put a good face on it, but we all know.
Yep.
And it's true, they did kind of make up their mind.
Yeah, I mean, had their mind made up for them, whichever the case, but yeah.
Right.
And this leads to Malfoy, who had been very subdued, as she puts it, since the Quidditch final, suddenly regaining some spring in his step.
Yeah.
And bragging about how certain he was that Buckbeak was going to be killed, and Harry is ready to actually strangle the kid.
Yeah. He not only is he certain that Buckbeak's going to be executed, but he's taking a certain perverse joy in being the person who's responsible for it.
Yep.
Which is pretty dark for a 12 or 13-year-old kid, you know, to be taking joy in that.
I feel like kids can be such sociopaths. I want to say that it's a sign of like who he is, and then I'm like, is it like yet? How developed are kids? I'm not a psychiatrist, you know, or I just wonder about like, are there people out there listening to this who look back at things that they thought were funny or cool, and they're horrified by their younger selves, realizing now what they like, what their attitude was like? You know, I just wonder about that.
I don't know. I feel like it is definitely a sign of what Malfoy is and who he is, that he gets such glee in being responsible for Buckbeak being executed. I don't know if it's something that's inherent to like 13-year-old boys. I hope it's not. You know? It would bum me out if that were the case. But yeah, I think it really does speak to him. Because as a kid, I mean, there are certain little kids that you know who took joy in like torturing animals. Like I can remember being a little kid and there were like 2 or 3 boys in the neighborhood that, you know, always wanted to find a stray cat for something.
That's fucked up.
You know?
I did not know kids like that.
Oh God, yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. There's always 1 or 2. Well, my experience is always 1 or 2. But that's the thing, just 1 or 2. Like most of them would be, you know, rightly horrified by the idea of doing something like that, you know. I don't think it's natural for a kid to be this way.
Yeah.
So I think it definitely speaks to Malfoy just being kind of shitty.
Yeah, well, I think that's fair. Because as we see over the coming years, like, it's not like he really grows up and learns his lesson. He's, like, being a fuckboy right until the end.
Yeah. And it's a weird thing, too, to see someone so young get off so much on power. Which maybe isn't so unique. Maybe that's something that is kind of a thing that kids do.
I think that's inherent to bullying. You have to enjoy power if you like to bully people.
Yeah. So, all of us say that Malfoy is terrible.
Yes. Indeed. So, they have to start exams the next week. Transfiguration does not go well for some of them, and that's hence the illustration. And let's see. Then
there's a gorgeous illustration of the greenhouse.
Oh yeah, which page is that?
This.
Yes, here it is. Yeah,
it's so weird.
It is weird, right? Like they built a little extension on just for this one plant on one side. It's been really hard for this book to get good copies, like digital copies of illustrations to use in posts on the website, because this hasn't been out long enough for people to have really like gotten their reviews out, you know, because I got most of the images from the last two books from like blog posts where people shared, and I don't think people have either done that yet, or if they have, it's just not being frequented enough to show up in searches quite yet. And so this is one of the illustrations that I would love this for this post so that everybody could see. Cause yeah, this is really cool. But, I
love how it's off kilter. Like it's going to tip over at any moment too.
Yeah. And once we go to Wizarding World, there's a lot of buildings like that in Wizarding World.
Oh, fine.
And cause I don't know like how, I mean, you can see it a little bit, I guess, in Center, or not Center City, in Old City in Philly, how stuff gets like tilted and whatnot when the foundation's not, or just there's settling that happens over a long period. And that would be in London. There were certain shops that the like front display window of the shop was like canted so far forward out over the street that you'd almost have to step into the gutter from the sidewalk to like walk around it. But it would look like it's about to tip over at any second. And it had been like that for 90 years, you know? And it's still like, I always just wonder, like, how long can that last? How much further does it have to go before it finally does just, it's just not usable anymore, you know? So anyway, then they go to Charms class where Harry gets a little bit overexcited with his cheering charm and makes Ron burst into hysterical laughter.
Yeah. He cheers Ron right into a quiet room for an hour.
And then they go to Care of Magical Creatures, and poor Hagrid.
He's so distracted.
His heart just isn't in it.
Yeah.
Basically, their whole exam comes down to, is your worm still alive? Good. Full marks. And these worms don't need anybody's help to stay alive, so you just don't have to do anything for an
It's
hour.
like their easiest test.
Yep.
And they can't even like enjoy it because they feel so bad that Hagrid is in such a way.
Yep. I feel bad for him, man. Like, if he had just had a decent response on that first day, I feel like he could have done really well, you know?
Right. And even Hermione says that, like, if he can just keep it together for this one, it'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we all know that, A, he can't keep it together. No. It's Hagrid. He is not a keeper together. You know, that's not what he does. So, yeah, you know it's going to end terribly. But, and so it feels almost like, well, yeah, if he had kept it together the first time, we wouldn't be in this mess. But also, he never really had a chance.
Yeah.
You know, even if he had been at the top of his game, you know, on a Hermione level, he still would have been ruled against.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I mean, well, anyway, I'm about to go off on my same shit that I was talking about. So, all right. So then after cheering charms and Care of Magical Creatures comes potions, which does not go well.
It doesn't go well.
Harry gets what he is sure is a 0.
Right.
And then
fucking Snape all lurking over his shoulder, making it hard for him to focus and concentrate.
Lurking and swooping.
And swooping and flouncing.
Flounce, children. And then came Astronomy at Midnight up on the tallest tower. History of Magic Wednesday morning, in which Harry scribbled everything Florian Fortescue had ever told him about medieval witch hunts, while wishing he could have had one of Fortescue's Choco Nut Sundays with him in the stifling classroom. We might get to have a Choco Nut Sunday, RoShawn.
That sounds pretty good.
And Wednesday is Herbology. And then the next day is Defense Against the Dark Arts, in which Harry does outstandingly.
Hermione, not so much.
No. As we find out way later, this is the only class Harry did better than Hermione in.
Yeah, and I had forgotten that she had this problem.
Yeah, she has a fear of failure, and that boggart was too real. He knew exactly where to poke. I think we talked about this, what our boggarts would be, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember what I even said, but it would probably be something like that.
Yeah, you said something very similar. I can't remember what I said.
So Hermione is still kind of freaking out when it's over, and they're trying to calm her down when they are headed back to the castle, and they spot Cornelius Fudge, who basically is like, well, I needed to visit Hogwarts to check in on the black situation, but I'm here for the disposal of dangerous creatures, which requires a witness to the execution of a hippogriff. And Ron's like,
he's like,
that appeal already happened? And he's like, no, why? Genuinely mystified.
Yeah. I like that he's like, well, maybe you won't have to witness anything then.
And he doesn't even get a chance to answer. Like,
well, he does. He says you might not have to witness an execution at all.
But I mean, Fudge doesn't get a chance to say anything to
Ron.
No. Like, because I would have liked to hear him be like, oh, well, of course. You know, in this really, like, nothing way. But he doesn't even get a chance.
Yeah, he gets interrupted by the other two guys. But yeah, Fudge showing up is like the grim specter of death. You know, he just pops up.
Indeed.
And the way they react to him is exactly like that. Like, he's just the harbinger of bad news. Even though, as Ron points out, it's still supposed to be kind of undecided at this point.
Yes.
You know.
It's all a big farce.
Yeah, it really is. I like that Hermione has to, like, drag Ron away, too. Like, remind him, this is your dad's boss.
Yeah.
He might want to chill.
Yeah, I appreciate that she thinks of that, because I sure fucking wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would have been like Ron, just going, are you for real? What are you fucking doing, buddy?
Yeah, Ron is on some no justice, no peace. Right?
Oh my god. Now I'm picturing it like the end of the book when they do the like time turner. The like Hermione and Harry are wearing like Guy Fawkes masks as they hide Buckbeak in the woods. Not that is actually appropriate if one knows the history of the, but
yeah,
whatever.
No kidding.
So Hermione tries to be like, well, you know, they can't really do it. It's not. But she doesn't sound like she believes it.
Yeah, no, she's just fucking saying things.
And then they go to their final exam, which is divination. And they're supposed to read from a crystal ball.
Right. Yeah, and it's 1-on-1, which I had forgotten about as well.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember if this was in the movie or not.
Yes.
It was, right?
Yes, it was.
Was it 1-on-1 in the movie?
Yes.
It was? Okay.
Yeah, because I think that there's no way, because this doesn't wind up, like, coming out until Harry says something to Dumbledore, like, wait, like, I think at the end of this book, he's like, oh, she said something. But if there had been people around when she did this little trick, I think everybody would have been talking about it.
Oh, okay.
You know? So, yeah, she's meeting them 1-on-1. Harry's the last to go. And he tries to say that he sees a hippogriff, and she's like, Is it
She gets
headless
so
and
excited.
writhing in pain on the
My
ground in a pool
God.
of blood?
What's this about? This is terrible. And I don't remember how I reacted the first read, but this is awful. Just awful. Especially when you have to consider that she's not really seeing this shit.
No.
So this is just her.
She,
Like,
bitch loves drama.
oh my God, it's terrible. Oh, she should have been. Umbridge was right to fire her. This is inexcusable. And then when Harry is like, no, that's not what I see. It's not that at all. He flies and gets away. And she's like,
Right.
no, you're not seeing the real shit.
I love this.
You know.
It has to be terrible for it to be true.
Right? Oh, it's the worst.
Which is weirdly true to human nature. Like,
Well, yeah.
you know, we just like, the worst shit is the shit that we're like
Yeah.
believing. Somebody gives
Yeah.
us good news and we're like, you fraud.
Right?
You're just
But yeah,
telling
the
me
way
what I want to hear.
But the way she digs into it, though, was he
Oh, yeah.
headless? Like, this is still a little boy you're talking to.
Mhm.
Let's settle down a bit. And this hat they have her wearing in this little illustration,
Oh,
I don't know
God.
what's happening here, but it's...
It looks like some kind of turban.
It's like an upside-down jester hat. Like, the two sides are like frowny faces, like they're going down instead of up.
Wait, what?
Is it? That's her, right?
Sides that are frowny faces.
Look at the illustration on 244.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, but I don't see what you're talking about.
So you see the two red sides?
Oh, that's the back of her chair, girl.
Oh, I like my version better.
That is the back. No, otherwise it looks like she's got like giant demon horns.
Like
curving
horns
down.
that are upside down, frowny
No,
faces.
that's the back of her armchair.
Well, we'll have to agree to disagree.
Oh, it took me a second to even understand what you were even. Okay. That's one of those, like, if you see a beer glass instead of two cliffs.
Yeah, all I see are, it still looks exactly the same to me. That's not changing.
Or they look like Dobby ears, like if she's cosplaying.
Oh my God, Trelawney is Dobby. Ugh.
So Harry's about to get up and leave, and all of a sudden, she says, "It will happen tonight." And he's like, what? And then comes the prophecy, which I had forgotten was so, like...
Dead on?
Not just dead on, but how, like, kind of poetical it is. The Dark Lord lies alone and friendless, abandoned by his followers. His servant has been chained these 12 years. Tonight, before midnight, the servant will break free and set out to rejoin his master. The Dark Lord will rise again with his servant's aid, greater and more terrible than ever before. Tonight, before midnight, the servant will set out to rejoin his master. And, yeah, there's something just about the way she phrased it. His servant has been chained these 12 years.
Yeah.
I just love that. And I know that it's not even necessarily... It's JK phrasing it so as to make us think it's serious. But it still sounds cool as hell in terms of just him having just been a rat.
Right. I, again, I can't remember what I thought when we read it the first time. I imagine I probably assumed she was talking about Sirius because that seems the most likely.
Mm-hmm.
Does this prophecy come up later?
You mean just like, does it play into the
No.
larger
Does
plot?
Harry does Harry relate this prophecy to someone like Dumbledore, for instance?
He relates it to he relays it to Dumbledore at the end of the book after everything has happened, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. Okay.
Yeah. And so then when she wakes up, Harry tells her, "Hey, you made this prophecy," and she's like, "Okay, that's just crazy talk."
Yeah, I would never.
I
That's
would
even
never
too
say-
much for me.
It's so far fetched. I mean, gracious. And it even suggests that maybe Harry fell asleep. You know?
Yeah, I love that part. Also, there's something about, and this comes up later, and we talk about it later. Well, we talked about it in the first books later when it happened. This idea that Trelawney has the gift, but when she really has it, she has no recollection of it.
Yes.
Which is just, I don't know, funny to me. She takes her seeing and her sight so seriously, and she's so full of shit.
She's so full of shit.
But she does have these moments, right?
Yep.
Where it's the real deal. Only she just doesn't know about them at all.
Yeah, there's something kind of like amazing about that. If only she had the I just wish that she was self-aware enough to realize that she was not good at this in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
But she still thinks she's good at it anyway.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's this weird space that she occupies, right? Mm-hmm. Where even though I consider her kind of a fraud, I know of at least 2 times where she was dead on.
Yep.
And, like, something really did happen, even though they don't explain to us how that happens. But we know it does. Mm-hmm. So you want to kind of, like, throw her out with the trash, but you're like, oh, but she had those couple of times, though.
Yeah, it's like, there's something I think that J.K. tapped into here with this character that I really like, in that instead of just making her a fraud who's just flat out lying, she made her a fraud who believes she's telling the truth in some ways, like, and she is lying to herself. So there's some self-deception there, of course, mm-hmm. But she is somebody who, what she says is so vague that she can tell herself she was right almost always.
Well, yeah, that's how that always works, though.
But I don't think enough people appreciate how often that's the case. People think a lot of times that when someone claims to be able to talk to spirits or whatever, that those people are just straight up lying maliciously to take your money or to just get your hopes up or whatever. And I don't think that they realize how much of the time that person really thinks that they can do it. And they think they're actually, if they're using tarot cards or something.
Yeah. That's the thing that's very rarely ever discussed and investigated, mm-hmm. are the people who really do think they have a gift that are out there in the world.
Yeah.
And again, that's what makes Trelawney so interesting, is that she does have a gift. She just isn't in control of it at all in the way she thinks she is.
Yep.
And it's kind of like when you can, I was going to say do a trick, but that's not really fair. Do you remember the old, all right, the WB frog, right? You remember that?
Yes.
Right, it's terrible.
This is not starting where I thought it would. Okay.
Well, do you remember the old Bugs Bunny cartoons with the frog? And the joke was that he could sing or he could talk, but he only ever did it in front of one guy.
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah.
So like, no one else ever believed that his frog could do, like, these things.
Yes. I forgot about that, yeah.
Like, Trelawney is kind of like, only she doesn't know her frog can sing. And it makes it kind of sad because there is a witness. Dumbledore's a witness to her gift. Mm-hmm. But can't really share it with her. He can't give her the satisfaction of knowing that she really got something right. Except to
give her a job.
Well, yeah, but she doesn't
realize why, yeah.
Exactly. But on just when you start to feel sorry for her that, she doesn't really know, you can't, because she thinks she knows.
Exactly.
So it's not as if she's really suffering any sort of lack of confidence.
And imagine how fucking insufferable she'd be if she knew about this stuff.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
She'd be impossible. Like, and there are the instances earlier where she says one of our number will leave us forever in the spring, and she says, Neville, won't you take the pink or the blue after this? I'm rather partial to the pink after you break your first cup. And that is the kind of thing that you will just know from being a teacher, knowing that somebody always drops at a certain point in the year. You see Neville around fucking shit up, and you're like, yeah, you're probably going to break a cup.
Right.
But she can tell herself it's, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can also, like, plant things, in people's minds, sort of. People who are predisposed to do something like that. Yeah, I wonder if she really did know, if that would change her view. Like, if she would take it more seriously and not bullshit as much. If she were aware of the few times she actually did have it. You know? Like, one school of thought says, yes, she would be insufferable because she's already insufferable as it is.
Yes.
But then it could go the other way.
No.
Like, if she... No. All right, then. No.
I really, just based on what I know about her personality, she doesn't have the kind of self-awareness for that to change her in that way.
Okay.
You know, I think
you might be right.
I think that would require her to, like, reevaluate everything, and she's not going to take a step back. It's going to be confirmation of what she thinks she already knows about herself.
Yeah, I think you are absolutely right.
So, Harry rushes to meet his friends to tell them what she said, but he stops when he sees their face because they have gotten their message from Hagrid that he lost the appeal. And Hagrid doesn't want them to come down because he doesn't want them to see it.
Yeah.
But they're like, we have to go. Come on, we can't just leave him there by himself watching his pet die. And they don't have the invisibility cloak. So Hermione just goes and gets it from the base of the witch.
It's a whole new Hermione.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, who are you?
Yep. Yeah, she started to reach that point where people are like, well, that kind of protesting is illegal. And she's like, then change the laws! Justice knows no law. And then she paints the Punisher symbol on her face. So they put the cloak on and go down there, and poor Hagrid is a fucking mess.
Yeah, he's not even crying this time.
No.
This is a different type of Hagrid. Harry even says, he almost would rather have the tears.
Yeah.
This is a Hagrid that doesn't know what to do with himself.
And he's, like, shaking and can't even make tea.
Yeah.
And he breaks a jug, and Hermione has to go and do the tea for him because he just can't handle it. And then she finds Scabbers in the bottom of one of the jugs, and Scabbers is not happy to be found.
Not at all.
He does not want to be here, and he looks like shit. And there's an illustration of him on the bottom of 248.
Which is kind of cute, though.
It's a little cute, but you can also see, like, the kind of bald patches where his fur is starting to fall out. And he has a weird cowlick in the back of his head, like a Dennis the Menace. Oh my god. Owen got that recently. Owen has a cowlick, and he went to this salon to get his hair done, and he got somebody new, and she just cut almost all of it off. But the way she handled the cowlick was to not cut that.
Oh my god.
So that it would lay flat, which worked when it was styled. She styled it before he left, and so it looked great. But then once he washed his hair, he just had like an antenna sticking up from the crown of his head in the back. Oh my god, it is so funny. And like once he styles it back down again, it's fine. But like initially, it's just, I cannot stop laughing. He'll take his hat off at the end of the day when he gets home, and I'm just like, oh man, he was so mad. Luckily, when guys get bad haircuts, it grows out so fast that you can't tell, you know.
Yeah, it's true.
Unless they wear their hair long. But yeah, he was so upset. He sent me this selfie of himself with this like grumpy cat expression right after he got out of there and was like, she was new. I was like, oh god, I'm sorry. So anyway, Ron takes Scabbers, even though Scabbers does not want to be taken.
No, he does not.
And finally, they hear everybody coming, and Hagrid ushers them out the back door really quick. And they're walking up to the castle, and they hear the axe swing and drop. Yeah,
it's pretty dire.
Yeah.
And they are fucked up, as well they should be.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't see it, just hearing it. And, you know, it's that kind of thing where you, even though you know it's coming, you don't think it's really going to happen, which is like my whole life. And then it happens, and they just don't even know what to do.
Yep. Yeah, and it's kind of like, it feels cruel because you find out later it didn't happen. Like, it was just, but in that moment, they're all certain.
Right.
Because the sound itself, and then it's followed by Hagrid howling in what sounds like grief, but we find out later is like joy. So, yeah, it's really a moment of them all just sort of like, I can't fucking believe that they would do something so obviously wrong.
Right.
It's a little bit of an awakening, I think.
I think so. I think you're right. It's like terrible things have happened so far in these books. You know, especially when you get to the end and they have to, you know, overcome whatever the book was, you know, whatever the big bad of the book was. But this is the kind of thing that's not like the A story. This is like a subplot.
Right.
And it feels very much like something that they're going to be able to fix. And we find out later that it is.
Right.
But at this moment, we don't know that that's what's going to happen. And it just feels like a part of the story that we couldn't control and that they couldn't save. And it just happens off page, you know?
Yeah.
Like you hear the sound, you think you know what's happening. And it's really this kind of powerlessness feeling. Which is, I think, is one of the first times we kind of get that in these books. We'll get it much more as we go on. But I think it's one of the first times we kind of just like, shit, we couldn't stop that.
Yeah.
God damn. But we've been so good at stopping stuff up to this point.
And I think just this belief that, like, if the adults step in, things will be taken care of. And realizing that the adults can step in and just be totally manipulated or fucked up or, you know, whatever. Right. And I think that's something that, like, if you especially are somebody who grew up with privilege, it's such a, like, it happens so much later in your life that you start to be like, oh no, I thought, I'm just thinking about my own, like, my thought patterns were that there were enough good and decent people that they would do the right thing in the end. And what I didn't understand at the time was that people believe that what they believe is good and decent.
Right,
so
that's the thing.
They agree with what you're saying in that, of course we're going to do the right thing. But your idea of the right thing, and, like, nobody's twisting their mustache going, ha, I'm the villain here. I will take your rights away. Everybody thinks that they're doing the good and decent thing, which is so much scarier. In this case, one could argue that's not really the case because they are being basically blackmailed into this, probably? Yeah,
they're being manipulated, blackmailed, bullied, whatever you want to call it, by Malfoy. But that's the thing, too, is, like, this is I don't know if it's the first time, but I feel like this is the first time where all it takes is one really kind of bad person to put the wheels in motion and make sure it happens. Right? Like, it feels like, well, yeah, Malfoy's dad is terrible, and he might want this to happen, but the other adults won't let him do this thing.
But he's got enough power and money to make their lives miserable.
Exactly, and this is like the first time the kids are learning that, oh, shit, one really terrible dude can make this happen. Because that's how power, you know, works.
Yeah, that's something that I feel like, you know, that's really what it is that I didn't fully understand how tiny a group of people could be what makes or breaks something. I always felt like if the majority of people are intelligent, follow the facts, look at the evidence, the end.
Right.
But you don't need a majority. You need the one person who really counts. And frequently that person who really counts... Woo.
Oh, sorry. Hit my mic. Sorry.
Frequently that one person who really counts is the person who really counts because he got there...
Exactly.
Because of bad reasons.
That's why he counts.
He made sure to manipulate and game until he got exactly where he is, because that's just where he wanted to be.
And that's a hard lesson to learn.
Enough of relating this to Everything terrible.
Is that what we were doing?
They are trying to get back to the castle, and Ron cannot keep a hold of Scabbers. And Ron is just like, what is the matter with him? And Harry thinks he's figured out what the matter is, because he sees Crookshanks coming toward them. And Hermione is of the same opinion, because she's like, fuck, Crookshanks, not now!
And just like a cat, he doesn't care about timing.
He does not give any shit.
Not at all. If they were on a table, he would have knocked them right off. That's how much he cares.
So Ron goes booking it, and he grabs Scabbers and is in the middle of this when Harry hears something come up behind him. He turns around, and there's a giant dog which appears to attack him, but like overshoot a little bit and roll off him, and then it goes for Ron.
And snatches Ron up and drags him away like some kind of fucking nightmare.
Yep. And Ron like curls his leg around a tree root to try and stop him from dragging him, and his leg just breaks.
Yeah.
That one always gets me.
Yeah, I forgot too that's how his leg was broken. Like, I had remembered it more of being like an injury that serious cause, and he did kind of cause it.
He completely caused it, kind of.
Well, I mean, like, I thought it was an injury that happened when he tackled Ron and grabbed him, as opposed to it being like, you know. But yeah, he did cause that shit.
Yes.
But
Ron would not be trying to wrap his leg around a tree root if he wasn't being dragged away by a maniac dog.
But yeah, I had remembered it kind of being like he tackled him and he landed bad and, you know, fucked his leg up. Which makes me a little bit more sympathetic to Sirius.
I can't with you right now. So Hermione's like, we need to go get somebody. And Harry's like, did you see the size of that fucking dog? He could eat Ron. We cannot just like go back and take that time. And they can't get through because the Whomping Willow.
Yes. I love that they get smacked and Harry's like, who the fuck hit me? And then they have to do Lumos and they realize where they are, because in the skulking under the cloak and then the Scabbers and then Crookshanks, they get kind of disoriented. So they don't realize where they are.
Yeah.
When they start getting their ass kicked.
And I like it too, because it's Crookshanks that winds up pushing the like knot on the tree to stop it. But in the movie, they don't have Crookshanks in this scene.
No, they don't.
Like, so he doesn't, and it's just they like take a stick and do it themselves. And I just really like the idea of the two humans being completely out of their depth. What's happening? Whap! But who hit whap? And then this cat stepping in and being like, Jesus, I'll get it. Hold on, you know? I kind of feel like that's missed a little bit in that moment in the movie.
I am reading this chapter. I was reminded how much better it is than what the movie did. The whole thing of it, you know, it's just so much better.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And if you'd like to hear more about that, all you have to do is donate to our GoFundMe. But yeah, that movie is one of the most overrated ever. So they head down through the tunnels and they come out in this weird boarded up house that Hermione realizes is the Shrieking Shack. And they go upstairs and Sirius Black does not do a good job at communicating his intent.
No, he does not. Also, I don't think there's a 4-poster bed in the movie.
I think there is.
Is there? I don't remember. I don't remember a bed. I remember it looking just very bleak and disheveled and decrepit. Something about this beautiful big bed with the cat chilling on it just makes me laugh. And I guess maybe because there's no Crookshanks, maybe they did, that scene doesn't really impact you that way.
Yeah, isn't it weird? Like, he's up on the bed and he's purring?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not the appropriate response right now, Crookshanks.
Well,
what are you doing?
He knows what's up. Everyone else is like slow.
But your buddy's like, this dude's leg just got broken. This is not the time to be smug.
That's not his buddy.
That's true. That's not his buddy. He hates him, actually. So I guess that's maybe why he's
Right?
crying, is that he's just like, that motherfucker got his leg broke. That's what you get.
Look at him with his leg all fucked up, bending the wrong way.
Oh, God. So they come in, and they're like, where's the dog? And Ron's like, not a dog. And they turn around, and there is Sirius looking like a corpse.
Yeah.
What do you think of that illustration?
This illustration is bananas. It's so good. It's so
creepy.
Good. It's like serial killer good. It's really, really creepy. It's excellent.
Maybe I'll use this one. I think I've seen this one around. I can use that for the post. But yeah, if eyes hadn't been shining out of the deep, dark sockets, he might have been a corpse. The waxy skin was stretched so tightly over the bones of his face it looked like a skull. His yellow teeth were bared in a grin. It was Sirius Black. And he disarms them, and then he says, I thought you'd come and help your friend. Your father would have done the same for me. Brave of you not to run for a teacher. I'm grateful. It will make everything much easier.
And Harry takes this the complete right way, which
Correct
turns
way,
out
Sirius.
to be the wrong way. But it's the right way to respond with the information he has.
I just like, Sirius, can you please try and be a little bit more sinister
because
here?
This
like,
shit is super cryptic for no reason.
I just like, what were you thinking, buddy?
He could have.
Where's your head at?
He could have opened with, "My God, Harry, I'm so glad to see you. Let me tell you." Or don't worry, I'm not dangerous. Or don't worry, I'm not going to kill you. Like a million things he could have said.
Anything. And I get that this is supposed to draw it out, but I don't know. Like, the only thing that makes this believable to me in this moment is that he has been not in his entire right mind.
Which makes it even more frustrating because in a minute we get Lupin, who just carries on with this misinformation campaign.
Yes. He's just like, wait, did you? And then you switched and didn't tell me. Hugs. Dude, holy shit. Do you know what this looks like to everybody? Jesus, guys. So, yeah. And this to me was the scene in the movie that I felt like got screwed up the most because there's just something weird about the way the sound is done here, and the acting is a little too like overplayed and stilted, and it's just the impact of everything that's happening is lost. I feel like, but yeah,
and like in the movie, I want to say, how does Lupin find them in the movie? Does he talk about the map?
I think so.
Because here he says very clearly that he created the map.
He's one of the authors of it. Yeah. I helped write it.
Yeah, and I feel like that was missed in the movie. Even if they did it, I feel like it was so quick.
I don't think they did do it. I think that was one of the things that we talked about was that the Marauders thing
never comes up, right?
Yeah, which is really frustrating because Harry's still, like, his Patronus is a stag at the end, even though he doesn't know that his father, and, like, one could argue that you don't have control over your Patronus, but it would be kind of crazy if his Patronus was his father's form just purely out of,
I feel like you do have some control because we know that Tonks changes hers.
Right. Well, that's what I mean, though. It's not like she controls... I don't know that she changed it on purpose.
Or that it just changed.
So much as her heartache just changed it.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
And I guess... I mean, I don't know about Snape's. I know that his Patronus is tied to his feelings for Lily, but I don't know if he had a different one, Or if his was always a doe. I don't think that ever comes up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, oh God, that just reminds me of when Snape sees Tonks's new Patronus and says, I don't much care for it, it makes you look weak. Remember that?
I do.
Ugh, he's such a fucking dick for no reason.
Like, he's got, like, a leg to stand on with that kind of judgment.
Right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It makes you look weak. Oh, really?
Says the guy who's, like, still crushing after the girl he met when he was 12.
Get over your damn self. So, Harry is about to try and kill Black, and Crookshanks comes and sits on his chest, and is like, "You're gonna have to go through me, motherfucker." That's what I imagine Crookshanks is saying.
I'm sure that's all implied, right?
And, he's in the middle of, like, realizing that he can't do it. Like, it's just, the time has stretched on here, and all of a sudden, they hear somebody else in the house, and Ron calls out to them, and it's fucking Lupin, who disarms his students.
Yeah, instead of the stranger, the maniacal stranger. But here, at least she says he disarms them because he knows from the map that Sirius is here. Right? But he doesn't know that Sirius isn't the bad guy yet.
No, like, he's gathered that he's not the bad guy because he's seen that Peter Pettigrew is here.
Right.
So he's assuming, oh shit, everything is not how I thought it was. But that's still a big leap to make.
So he's just going to disarm them until he gets all the facts. Which seems like you don't want to do that. You want to get all the facts first. Before you go disarming people. Ah, Lupin.
And then finally, Lupin, like, asks, "So did you switch without telling me?" And then Black nods, and they hug, and Harry is like, "Are you fucking kidding me right
and
now?"
Hermione loses her shit.
She
fucking... And this is when we find out that she's known that he was a werewolf since forever ago. And we're all just dumb because we weren't hip.
Correct.
And then he says this thing to her, which I don't particularly care for. Lupin says, "Not at all up to your usual standard. Only 1 out of 3." Which seems especially smug and kind of dickish in this circumstance. I mean,
yeah. Like, I find, like, I don't know. I don't find that to be particularly... I feel like it's a compliment, really.
Yeah,
just being like, usually you're right across the board, but you kind of missed it on this one, lady.
Yeah, this doesn't seem in character to him, to me, to be this way. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I think you might be imparting a different tone to it than I imagine when I'm thinking about it.
Well, I mean, he says, not up to your usual standard. I'm afraid. I don't know. I don't care for it.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, the fact that you're, like, putting weight on that. I'm picturing him as saying that with kind of a smile, like he's trying to, like, calm her down a little bit. Like, not up to your usual standard, I'm afraid, Hermione. Like, whereas I think you're hearing it as, "I'm afraid, Hermione." Like, this sort of, smarminess, I think, a little bit, that I wasn't imagining there. I'm not saying you're wrong. Yeah. I'm just saying that, like, I think I just heard it differently in my head. So if you're hearing it the way that you're hearing it, I can understand why you feel that way. But yeah, I think it's almost like he's trying to be like, "Hey, remember how I'm your teacher and, like, you actually like me?" Like, he's almost trying to ingratiate himself again so that she doesn't just lose her mind. Except it's not going to happen because you just hugged what we think is a mass murderer. Anyway, so yeah, I've not been helping Sirius get into the castle, and I certainly don't want Harry dead, but I won't deny that I am a werewolf. And he tries to help out Ron, who, like, groans, and Ron recoils and says, "Get away from me, werewolf." Which I had forgotten. And once we get to know everybody a little bit better and the circumstances around this, that is so much more hurtful than I realized. Just like, I know that werewolf is the word, but it feels like he's turned it into a slur in that moment.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. Yeah, because he doesn't recoil from him because he thinks he's in league with Sirius. He recoils from him based on the knowledge that he's a werewolf.
Completely, yeah.
And it clearly has an impact on Lupin. I mean,
Yeah.
just the way that Ron says it affects him.
Mm-hmm.
But he stops for a second, but he moves on to asking Hermione, like, when did she figure it out?
But as she puts it, it took an obvious effort.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm just picturing, like, if somebody outs you and then all of your friends just act completely differently all of a sudden.
That's exactly what's happening.
Which is what he was afraid of happening with James and Sirius, and then it turns out that they don't do that, and that's part of why he's just so
right,
like loyal to them.
Yeah, and then it goes right into Ron being like, because Lupin says the staff already knows, and Ron can't believe it. Like, can't believe Dumbledore would hire someone like him, would hire a werewolf.
Yep.
And they kind of go back and forth where Lupin is like, well, he knew he could trust me and he had to convince everyone else. But then Harry is still there.
Yep.
And, he kind of interrupts them and it gets it sort of back on track.
Yeah, I had to prove that I was trustworthy and he was wrong in all caps.
And then you're like, oh, that's right. We got this other thing going on.
Right. So finally he's like, all right, here are your fucking wands back. Will you listen now? Jesus Christ. Which I'm like, you have no right to be handing them their wands back like you're being all magnanimous.
You also don't have a right to be so exasperated. You haven't done anything to explain what the fuck is going on.
No. Oh. So then he explains about watching the Marauders map because he thought that they'd sneak out to see Hagrid. He was right about that. And then this whole fucking... Well, then there was somebody else with you.
Oh my
I
God.
couldn't believe my eyes.
Why aren't we just saying names?
Just stop it. How could he be with you? I just couldn't understand. He was supposed to be dead. I just didn't know.
Say the thing.
Jesus fucking Christ. And then he still can't just say it. And he's like,
No.
Can I see your rat?
No, not. We have this whole fucking thing we have to do. Which, it makes for fine reading, don't get me wrong.
Right. But it is just like, once you know and you go back and read it, it's just like...
It's so frustrating. You're just... yeah. All right, lady. Settle down. We get it.
So yeah, finally just the weirdness of... Like, because this is what I mean. He's like, give me your rat. And Ron's like, what? Why? No. Which is the right way to react.
Yeah.
And it would take such a short amount of time for you to just be like, hey, I got to prove something and I'm going to have to use your rat to prove it. But this rat is not a rat. Hold on a sec.
I'm serious.
But you have to argue with him for 10 minutes.
You think I'm a murderer, but real quick, let me tell you. This and that. And then Lupin shows up and he can fucking corroborate your story. Like if Lupin doesn't show up, then this whole thing can go on. Because why do they have to believe Sirius Black? Until he can get Pettigrew and transfigure him. But Lupin shows up immediately. So he has someone to co-sign.
Yep.
And yet it just drags out for 4 more pages.
Communication. Everyone.
Oh boy.
Use your words. So finally, what do you mean? Of course he's a rat. No, he's not, said Lupin quietly.
Dun, dun,
he's
dun.
a wizard. An animagus, said Black, by the name of Peter Pettigrew.
All that to get to that.
Finally. Jesus. Chapter over. So yeah, that's a pretty good spot to end. Let me see how many chapters we've got after this. 18, 19, 20... What's the last one? Do you hear this book squeaking?
I do. Is that the book? I thought it was your chair.
No, that's the book. That's fresh, tight binding right there.
Oh my God.
Hermione's Secret. So that's 21. And I think, I'm trying to see if there's any more after that. There has to be. That can't be. Yeah, here it is. 22. I will post again. Okay, so there's 2 more episodes worth.
Yeah, okay.
So we will be able to finish this before the end of the new year.
Yeah. All right. Well, that works.
Yeah, that's pretty perfect. So I think that'll be good. We'll have, we'll end it before the new year. Maybe have one last episode of like a Q&A or something like that. And then we'll move it to the patrons feed on Patreon. So everybody, if you want more, go to patreon.com/unspoiled and become a patron. Any amount, and you will get access to this. What is going? It sounds like you're opening a bag of chips.
Oh my God! I just needed to wipe my nose.
I don't know if you hit your mic when you did that.
Yeah,
and realize, but
did.
like, oh my God, it's like being at the movies and somebody's very,
Sorry.
very slowly trying to open a Werther's Original. That little fucking plastic. So, on that note, welcoming new patrons. This week, we have Leela Moses, Katie Hanna, Andrew Kogan, Alyssa Velasquez, and Jenny Truex. All became patrons. So, welcome to all of you guys this week. Thank you so much. We love you. You're the best. And make sure, if you haven't already, to join the Patrons Only group on Facebook and to become a user on the website, unspoiledpodcast.com. And that will give you access to some legacy Patrons Only episodes in a more organized format than what you can find on Patreon. Patreon recently introduced a tagging system, which is very helpful, but that was started long after I had been using it. So there are a lot of older episodes that weren't included in that tagging system. So if you're looking for stuff like coverage of Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, or Twin Peaks, if you're a $5 and up patron, that stuff is going to be easier to find on the website. And yeah, I think that's everything, since I already made all my announcements about the GoFundMe.
Did.
So, and guys, don't forget to check out our awesome sponsor, AkioBox.com, and use code UNSPOILED to get 10% off of your first 3 boxes, because AkioBox is going to have a pretty rad t-shirt, spoiler, in their upcoming box that I think people might want. And they don't have shirts in every box, but you know, this is a cool one, and you can see what it is on their Facebook feed and on their Instagram feed. So yeah, go to akiobox.com and use code UNSPOILED for 10% off. And lastly, it's the holidays. You're ordering things for your friends and family for Christmas. Use our links. Do it and help us out. unspoiledpodcast.com/Amazon, or you can use any of the links that I post to the Facebook page and to Twitter to get into Amazon. And as long as you use my link to open Amazon, anything you shop for on that app from then on will be counted towards Unspoiled. So you can click on an ad for Hogwarts-themed socks and not buy those socks and buy a microwave. And I get credit for the microwave. It's just the fact that I led you to the site. So yeah, please guys, bookmark it, use it every time you're shopping for gifts and stuff, and that will add up so fast. I have seen kind of a dip this month in Amazon commissions. So I would love to get that jacked back up again. So I think that's everything. It's unspoiledpodcast.com/Amazon again. All right, cool. Well, are you ready, mademoiselle?
I am.
This is the last episode until we go on our trip.
I'm so excited. Yay.
Oh, all right, guys. Thank you so much, everybody, truly, from the bottom of our hearts. Keep your eyes up on the Twitter and on the Facebook page to see way too many photos and probably videos of us on our trip. And we will see you in 2 weeks with a new episode. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Unspoiled Network podcast.